No Olympic Games would be complete without its grand Olympic stadiums, the pride of the host city from the opening to the closing ceremonies. But what happens to these stadiums after the Games end?
Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 abandoned Olympic facilities.
But this honored tradition is looking sicker every year.
But the city's residents and temporary workers bear the hidden costs of the Games.
Shall we?
For this list, we'll be looking at buildings that were used for the international sporting events, but now lay empty, wasting potentially millions of dollars worth of development. What are your favorite haunting Olympic locations? Any we missed? Let us know in the comments below. Number 10. Trampolino Olimpico Italia, Cortina, 1956. You never really think about what happens to ski slopes when it's not winter. The Trampolino Olimpico Italia was used for the ski jumping and team events for the 1956 Winter Olympics. The site was actually built decades earlier and then upgraded after Cortina d'Ampezzo was selected in 1939. It was used for the Ski Jumping World Cup in the late 70s and 80s and featured in a scene of the 1981 James Bond film For Your Eyes Only. But since then, the area has mostly been unmaintained. Now it lies rotting, with its last recorded sporting use in 1985. Number 9. Turin's Olympic Village, Torino, 2006. For Turin, Italy, the Olympics represented an opportunity to show the world its cultural life and stunning architecture. Thanks to the Olympic exposure, the tourist intake has increased significantly, and the city has become a sporting hub for Europe. However, as is the case with a lot of countries that host the Games, there are some buildings that still rarely see use. The Turin Athletes Village was one of the few places for visitors to stay. And while refugees made temporary homes in some of the buildings, they've since been cleared out, leaving the place dilapidated and empty. Number 8. The Lenin Palace of Culture and Sports, Moscow, 1980. Moscow was a controversial pick for the Olympics, with plenty of countries boycotting the 1980 Games in protest.
And I have notified the Olympic Committee that with Soviet invading forces in Afghanistan, neither the American people nor I will support sending an Olympic team to Moscow.
That didn't stop the USSR from building some insanely expensive structures to show off some of that communist grandeur. While there are some structures, such as the Tallinn Olympic Yachting Center in Estonia, that still see active use, the Lenin Palace of Culture and Sports has had the life sucked out of it. It did find use as a concert hall for a while, but now it stands empty. It could be a place for dark tourists to have on their bucket list because of the history, but its only practical use is as a canvas for modern graffiti artists. Number 7. Orlando Herndon Stadium, Atlanta, 1996. The Atlanta venues have met many different fates.
There you see from a much closer perspective the immediate aftermath of the explosion. Many people in the crowd obviously very confused.
The 1996 Olympics were marred by a bombing attempt at Centennial Olympic Park, but the area has been renovated and is still a fantastic part of the city. Other facilities and arenas haven't been so lucky. The Herndon Stadium is the perfect example of something from out of a fever dream. It was used for the field hockey tournament back in 1996. Afterwards, it was repurposed for small-scale events and even the filming of We Are Marshall in 2006.
Jack, that's it. That's it?
However, it has since become post-apocalyptic in its disrepair. Number 6. Sochi Olympic Park, Sochi, 2014. When the International Olympic Committee decided to have Russia host the 2014 Winter Olympics, Sochi needed a lot of new infrastructure to support it. A record-breaking $51 billion was invested into the small seaside resort town.
Everything is wonderful. I don't see any problems. Everything is absolutely great.
After the event came and went, however, the Olympic Park was more or less abandoned. Despite spending 7 years in development, the structures had been hastily put together, leaving many still unfinished by the time the Games rolled around. And while this massive investment might have allowed for larger opportunities, the sites have never been able to recover. The park is now a ghost town.
The gold and the glories are gone, leaving the city and its surroundings with a tarnished legacy.
Number 5. Sarajevo Olympic Bobsled and Luge Track, Sarajevo, 1984. Sarajevo was the capital of what then was Yugoslavia and was chosen to host the Winter Olympics in 1984. The Games were mostly successful, providing a lot of tourism to the country.
On every corner of this magnificent city, Olympic fever is in the air.
Unfortunately, trouble was just beyond the slope. The Bosnian War broke out less than a decade later, leading to a considerable amount of building and infrastructure being destroyed in the process. Visitors have reported that the bobsled track still has visible bullet holes, as it was used during the siege of Sarajevo as an artillery position. Now overgrown, the tracks have become a popular site for graffiti art and BMX racers. There are plans to restore the site, but it's definitely an uphill battle. Number 4. Berlin Olympic Village, Berlin, 1936. During the lead up to World War II, the new German chancellor was looking to showcase the country's strength. A large amount of money was spent on not just hosting the Games, but making them the first Olympics to be broadcasted. One of the many facilities to be built was Hitler's Olympic Village, which itself had controversial origins. The construction was overseen by Captain Wolfgang Fürstner, who was suddenly demoted due to his Jewish heritage and took his own life. After the Games, the village was repurposed as a hospital and army base by the Germans and then the Soviets. Recently, there have been efforts to restore the area for museum tours, but it mostly remains in disrepair. Number 3. Beijing Arenas and Mascots, Beijing, 2008. Hosting the Olympics can be a mixed bag, even for a country as big as China. While you will experience plenty of tourism and exposure for your country, what's left behind can prove a challenge to deal with. Some of the venues from Beijing 2008 have become tourist attractions like the Bird's Nest Stadium and the Water Cube Aquatic Center. But many lie deserted, including the volleyball arena, BMX track, and kayaking stadium. And there is something horrifyingly dystopian about the Games' mascots lying abandoned amongst overgrown shrubbery. Number 2. Rio Olympic Park, Rio 2016. The Olympics are fantastic events that bring together people from all nations to celebrate their best athletes. However, they come at a cost. The massive facilities for the 2016 Rio Olympics cost an estimated $15 billion. Allegations of corruption surrounded their construction.
So when the Olympic Park was planned for this area of Rio, it wasn't much of a surprise when the city came in with eminent domain eviction orders, telling these communities that they would be moved to public housing complexes, usually far out of sight of any international visitors.
On top of that, many critics argued that the facilities were too big to be maintained in the long term. And they were right. Shortly after, some of the venues were put to use, but in 2020, a judge ordered their closure until they'd been certified as safe. As a result, the areas have become completely abandoned, with some raided for equipment.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1. Athens Olympic Stadiums, Athens, 2004. When Athens was selected to host the 2004 Olympics, it was like the Games were returning home. And while many called them unforgettable, some media outlets see the now abandoned venues as a stark reminder of the 2008 Greek economic crisis. The Games left Athens with some new outstanding infrastructure, including a new airport, ring roads, and subway system. But the country has still yet to find uses for all of their new facilities.
The government is planning to sell the park to investors, though political instability has made the task more complicated.
Stadiums lie abandoned and overgrown, with the water in the outdoor pool turned brown. While there are potential benefits, the pictures of athletes' areas forgotten are a stark reminder that hosting the Olympics can be a gamble in itself, even for the country they came from.
So since the 2004 Olympics, Athens has Olympic venues that are now white elephants on the one hand and a thriving infrastructure on the other. Two sides of the same coin. We'll leave you to think about the merits of hosting the Olympic Games.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.